Hey everybody, David R. Becker here with Becker Art. In today's newsletter, I want to talk to you a little bit about the workshop I took last weekend, and that was with Don Andrews. It was an amazing workshop, and for me as a professional, I still take workshops. I don't think you can ever stop learning, and so I like to take as many workshops as I can. And Don Andrews was one of those people. I've always admired his paintings, and I had his book when I was at the American Academy of Art, and so I really wanted to meet him and also learn from him. And so here I just want to put some of the largest points I got across to me as a professional. I can still learn, right? And so here's what some of the things that I learned. One of the of the most fun thing was that I now using a different yellow. And so that's really great because I never really liked a lot of the yellows, but he told me about Naples yellow, and you mix that with a fuchsia or an opera like color, and you get a great flesh tones. And so that was amazing. So Naples, just put down for a new yellow, Naples yellow, number 1 point. And then he talked a little bit about figures, because this workshop was about putting people into your painting. And so he did a lot of the things like the Bob's Blobs that I've done, David's Dabs, where we're dabbing them in there. But he had a really good percentage of the figure and stuff, in which I'm going to show you really quickly. What he said is that when you're doing the figure, the body, the rough body, is about 50% of the body. And we got the head, which he said is 10%. And then he was talking about the legs, and the legs being 40%. And so that was a really good, that was pretty good, because a lot of times you don't quite know how long to make the legs and the head, and you're just kind of doing the blobs. But that was a really good suggestion, and I really thought that was great for me to keep on teaching that. So a lot of these things that I learned this weekend, I'm going to be using them into my classroom, because they are good points, and each teacher may say the same thing but in a different way. And so I found that very interesting, that a lot of things he said I do, but he told me in a different way, so that when I take it to my students, I can tell in a different way too, so that not every time I say that maybe a student doesn't get it so much, but when somebody else says it in a different way, they kind of get it. And so that was one of the cool things about doing figures in your painting. He talked about people if they could take pictures of his work when in a workshop, and he said he would feel but more bothered if they didn't ask him to take a picture of their work. So he definitely let me take pictures of all his work, and that was a cool thing. And one of these things for composition he talked about was really, really fun, an analogy to Mama Bear, Papa Bear, and Baby Bear for compositional purposes. So, if you have a Papa Bear, which is the tallest, you have a Mama Bear, which is a little bit shorter, then you have Baby Bear, right? And so to make a good composition, if you do it that way, it's more or less not a great composition, because everything's lined up really perfectly, and the weights are just, it's static, right? And so what he does is put Mama Bear and Baby Bear together first, and then add Papa Bear to that. And so what does that mean? It's like, let's just say you take Mama Bear, and you take the Baby Bear, and put them closer together, and hey, Papa Bear, and isn't that a much better composition? So when you're putting people in, you don't put them in top to bottom. You kind of put them in this way. And another thing that was really pretty fun and really cool was that if, like, let's say this is the scene, this is a much better scene with 3 for 1. 3 is good. It's not an even number. It's not spaced evenly, and the weight is really nicely distributed, right, for composition purposes. And so the one he said that was when that's kind of weird is if you do Baby Bear first, and then put Mama Bear, and then you put Papa Bear way over here. That doesn't look as good again. Because why? Because again, it doesn't look right, because it's again on a triangle, and it's not so nice. He did put it away from a distance, but having Baby Bear in the middle of them really works out well. It's really weird, but just something to think about when you're putting and placing people into your paintings, to make them the composition, and the weight of the objects, and it doesn't have to be just people. It could be rocks. Actually, that's what he drew in rocks, big boulders. Like when you're placing boulders on a beach, You know, you can do that in this kind of Papa Bear, Mama Bear, Baby Bear. And so what you want to do is always do Papa Bear and then Baby Bear. Baby Bear mostly goes in the middle. All right. And so another thing he had was when you're doing a work, you're doing your painting and you're composing it, one part that is, he calls it the red zone. So this part right here is the red zone. This part right here, and you don't put your main objects in there. You don't have anything important in this area, in the red zone. Very interesting, and it actually works. I had done a painting, and I had put something in the red zone, and by taking it out of there, it really worked out well. And keep your center of interest, of course, in your golden area, the or the thirds, right? In this area, this area, this area, this area. But keep it away from the edges. Keep things away from the red zone. And these are all just generalized things for composition. Not that you know you can do it, and as long as there's something else that takes it away from there. But just these are things I was never even thought about, and I just wrote them down, and I thought, wow, I got to really show you guys. And then we do he talked about photos and how unimportant photos are. Well, they're important to him, but he never uses it usually like it is. Every photo, he said, can be fixed to be better than the photo, basically. And so he just uses the photo, and then he just changes it to make it a painting, a much better painting. And he wants it to look like a painting. And it's really cool in that. He doesn't look at it, and most of the time when he drew it up, he draws it up, and he looks at the picture. And again, if there's something in the red zone, he takes it out of there. Colors, he doesn't look at that at all. He doesn't look at the color, which I tell you guys also the same thing. About the color. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, he says he solves the problem a lot of times of the photo. He always solves the problems because every photo usually has a problem because he's not making it so it looks like a photo. He's making it look like a painting, and so he always solves the problems of the photo so that he can then paint it like a painting, like a watercolor. Yeah, like, so don't be tied to the photo to so importance that you make it look exactly like the photo. You want it to be lively and make things, you know, it doesn't sometimes work when you're just using the photo, unless you have a really great photo, basically. Oh, it's the other trick, and here's one of the tricks. He had a credit card, and when he was painting, to get a really hard edge, really right, he would just take his credit card, or a business card, and he would lay down, and he would just take his paint, and then just paint like this, right across it, you know, and I'm like, why did I never think of that? That's so weird. I mean, I did it for lines, but sometimes to keep, like, let's say the side of the building, if you're doing the side of the building, you just like this, and then just start right here. That way it doesn't slip underneath there and just kind of goes. And then, like, again, not a business card, but a credit card or something that's just plastic that you put on there. And you just kind of go from that part really quickly, go across it, and it just makes a nice, sturdy, hard line. Isn't that great? I mean, who would have ever thought? Something simple as that sometimes. I never even thought about trying to do that with hard edges. Like if you want to get a really straight edge and not basically a line, but a big wash, and you're starting with the edge of the building, boom, you're done. Yeah, very cool. Very, very cool. Always counterbalance color. He was talking about that, which is he was using the Naples yellow, and when he did the flesh tone, he always counterbalances it with the cool. If it's a warm color, he would always counterbalance it with a cool. So basically, he would put down a wash. Basically put down a wash of color, and let me just see right here if I have enough color for this. So what he would do is if he's doing an object, let's say he's doing whatever, just sort of shape. So he would put it down, and so if he's going to wet it, he's going to wet it, and then let's say this is going to be flesh tone, and he wants the flesh tone warm, but first he would put down a non-warm color. He would put down a cool color. So he puts down the cool color first, and I think I used a little bit too much paint in that, but he would just put down a wash, very transparent wash of blue, and then he would take the Naples yellow and lavender, and let me just mix that over here. Not lavender, what am I talking about? Opera. And he would just, and again, I don't have my palette here right now, and you put that right over the top of the blue, and it's amazing how it makes the warm colors just a little bit more warmer. And that was a really interesting thing because I done the portrait I did this weekend on Sunday. I did that with that where I put down the blue first and put the warm on top of it, and man, it really works well. It really, really works well. So, like I said, if you put them both together, now it's gonna, usually the color, this is blue and orange, so it's going to be a grays, but that's a good thing. That's a really good thing. But very interesting way of putting down the paint and floating it and putting down the blue first and putting it on top of that. But very, so it's a balance of nice warm and cool colors in it. And so then when you do have a cool or a shadow side, that's a pretty neat way of doing it. Another trick, when you're doing the edges of windows, let's say or with perspective, here's a perspective of a wall and there's a window here, window. So what you want to do is make this part right here, you want to make hard edged, and as you go away, you're going to keep this edge soft. And so that was a really nice, trick for windows. Basically, this side of the window, the part going away is softer. The part towards you is going to be hard edged with watercolor, of course. And then we had the one day I missed, but I got it from the students there because I had to take my class. But there was a frontlit, ways of lighting your image, lighting basically your image is either it's going to be frontlit, backlit, toplit, or sidelit. And what does that mean? Let me show you. So if it's frontlit, that means you have to always juxtaposition the values. So if it's frontlit, the background is going to be darker, right? So you'll have the person or whatever object it is. If it's backlit, or if it's frontlit, it'll have a dark background because it's lit in front and the background will be dark. Now backlit is a little bit different. So let's say this is backlit, and I'm just going to put it really dark. So it's backlit, it's lit from the back, so that would be a dark, right? So the person would be dark. And top lit, you'd make the top of the background would be dark. And again, I'm just going to draw a little person here. The top would be dark behind it because it's top lit. And then halfway down, it would switch over to where the body could be dark and the background can be a little bit lighter. So that's top lit. And then side lit is the same kind of thing. Again, and these are you got to think about the lighting and how it's hitting the person and what you need to do with the background if it is going to be backlit or top lit or front lit, because it has to be one or the other. You cannot have dark on dark. You talk about that a lot when you're designing your image. If there's something that's back in the background light, then you're going to put a dark figure in front of it. If you're going to put a backlit, or if let's say we do this is the side lit. So we're going to have the side lit, but here what you can do is the whole side could be dark, and then this could be a little bit darker, and then this side in the background will be darker. So just the sides being lit then. So a lot of dark in that one, so that you're just lighting it from the side. So all these things happen when you're designing your image, and when he goes and looks at the picture and this is not happening in the picture, he makes it happen. One of the things he said it was when he had a picture of a beach and there was 50 people on the beach and not one of them was in the right place, he would say. And so that's pretty cool. So what he would do is when he's taking his beach scene, he would have a beach scene and the rocks and whatever. But what he would do then is he would take cutout. He took old paintings and cut out little people shapes and to see what size and different sizes, and he would put them against the paper to see again what size you want the person to be, right? And of course the old when a person in the painting is in the painting, and you're on the flat surface, the photographer's taking the flat surface and taking the picture, everybody in that scene, no matter how far away or close they are, has the line on the horizon line. So if there's a person way back there, and there's a person a little bit farther closer, person really close, his head is going to be this. So the horizon line, if they're in like a street scene, they're always going to have their heads, and a couple people had photographs that they showed that, and that happens. So the head is always near the horizon line. Again, if the people are the same height as the photographer who's taking the picture, and it's on a flat surface. Now, if it's on a non-flat surface and on a hill or something, then that's a different story. But And also, if a child is smaller than the photographer who's taking a picture on a flat surface, he would be smaller, right? Because he's a smaller person. But overall, the heads get close to the horizon line. That was a really interesting thing that he was talking about. And let's see what else he was talking about. It was amazing to, again, as a professional, and I've done a lot of teaching, and I love taking workshops from other instructors because it just makes me think of different ways of telling you about certain things that I take for granted sometimes too. That I'm thinking, I told that already, and they know how to do that, right? But seeing it told a different way, I think to me, it reminds me is that, well, maybe I didn't get it through to them exactly what it is that they should be learning from that lesson that I'm giving at a time. So seeing it a different way, like even the 10%, 50%, 40%, that, I never would have done that unless I took it in a workshop. And now I can say to every one of my students, it's about the 10% for the head. And those kind of things really help when it comes to being a teacher, because even as a teacher, I'm learning constantly. And all of us artists will learn until the day we are in the ground. So it's fun. So take a lot of workshops and have fun taking workshops from all different teachers. I tell my students all the time, don't always take me, to a workshop. It's great. I love it. Thank you so much for taking my workshop, but take other teachers and see what you can get from that. And you're going to use some of this stuff and some of the stuff you're not going to do. For me, Don Andrews was a great instructor for me. I'm not sure how it was for the beginners or, because it's different for them than it is for me. But for me, the workshop was phenomenal. I really loved it. And I saw a lot of different things that I can now use in my work and in general, and also in my teachings. So this Thursday, we will not have a paint along because I have to switch it over to a Wednesday because I'm heading to New York for the AWS show. And so watch my video, watch my paint along on Wednesday night. It's going to be Wednesday night. And so I'll see you then. And it will be I'm looking for a beach, basically water, waves, and beach and spraying rocks and stuff like that. So that's what we're going to look for. And so I'll see you on Wednesday. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.